Well, the NCAA tournament is here, everyone, and we are going to dig into it. And the way we're going to do it in this one is we're going to break down certain teams that we are most excited about, or teams that have been just hot on the radar. And that's what we're starting off here in this segment, and that's the Duke Blue Devils. Steve, we got to talk about Duke because what they've done lately has just been absolutely insane. Jon Scheyer starting off with this team. Obviously, he's got big shoes to fill. 9 straight wins for Duke. The last loss for Duke was that crazy loss to UVA that they shouldn't have lost, the officiating error. Well, the last win they just had was a big win against UVA. They win the ACC tournament, and we knew the ACC was going to be a crazy one, and it ends with the Duke Blue Devils on a hot streak into the tournament.
Well, I think for college basketball, I think it's always good that Duke finds a way to either win the ACC tournament or make a run. I really started having some doubts as if they were even going to make the tournament there at some point in February. But they righted the ship. There's just too much talent there for it to just continue to spiral out of control. And it's hard for me to really gauge what Duke is going to do in the tournament. I don't really have a good feel for them whatsoever because I really don't know what team is going to show up. I mean, if any team has been inconsistent all year, it's been Duke. They've had some just amazing, like we talked about the run they've just been on. They've had some amazing performances early on in the season, and then they've just been kind of, so I don't know what to say about Duke. I mean, it means the deeper they go in the tournament, the better it is for ratings, the better it is, I think, for the average college basketball fan, because people are going to know Duke. They're not going to know, a smaller school like Howard or any of the play-in kind of Kennesaw State. They're not going to know those schools. If Duke's there, I think you're going to have more eyes driven to watch the games.
Yeah, I think Duke is going to be an interesting team in the tournament. And I know they've been definitely up and down through Jon Scheyer's first year, which we kind of expected that a little bit. We thought that there was going to be some ups and downs. I didn't know it was going to be that bad originally, but I think once they finally got everything glued together and they stuck together as a team, you hear a lot of their younger players talking about how once they were down, they were doubted, and they just stuck together and went through. They have a great leader in Jeremy Roach. So I do really think that this Duke team is on the right path, especially after we saw them with their 9 straight wins and what they did in tournament play. I will say this, though. Even though Jon Scheyer, fantastic, good job. You're the first ACC coach since Bill Guthridge. Look at me bringing it back, 1998, to win the ACC tournament as their first year as a college coach. But winning the ACC tournament doesn't seem to be a pretty good thing as of late, Steve. When we look at last year, Virginia Tech lost in the first round. They won the ACC tournament. 2021, Georgia Tech won. They also lost in the first round. And in 2018, we all know UVA lost to the only time a number 1 seed lost to number 16. That was the UMBC game. Now, in 2019, Duke won their ACC tournament. They went all the way to the Elite 8. So maybe it doesn't work for Duke. However, as of late, the ACC tournament winner hasn't done very well in the first round, or just plain simple in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, well, and what does that say about the ACC as a whole? I'm not looking at last year. I'm looking at this year. Duke, right, who struggled in the middle part of conference play, suddenly gets hot, goes on a roll. So that's great on one level, but I think it just shows you how far the ACC has dropped this year as far as competition. I mean, you can argue, well, maybe, it's a little bit more competitive this year and some of the big programs are down. You can look at it that way, but you and I, are longtime college basketball fans. I look at it as, and I was just down in, ACC territory here, with the tournament. I look at it as like, what's going on here? I mean, is there really an ACC team that you can look at and say they're going to the Final Four, or they're even going to the Elite 8? I don't know that we can necessarily say that.
Well, I do have one. that I think is going to make the Elite Eight, but it's not going to be the Duke Blue Devils in my mind. You'll have to check out another video for that prediction on this one. Kyle Filipowski, I mean, how fun has he been this year? So many double-doubles, leads among all the freshmen in college basketball this year. I believe he has 16 on the season. It's just an incredible player. When you talked about all those freshmen that were going to play for Duke this year, and you brought all those names to the table this preseason, he's not the name that a lot of people were focusing on, but he really stepped up, and he has become that player to really be relied on. And I know that's a really tough thing to say. You got to rely on a freshman, but it's worked out in these last 9 games. Will it work in tournament play? It's a whole different story. I guess we'll find out in this one, Steve.
Yeah, and then I think the other thing that we haven't touched on yet about Duke is that I think they're healthy for the first time. I think you can look at their top, let's say 8 or 9 players, and for the most part, they're healthy, or they're at least 80-90% healthy, and that hasn't been the case for most of the season. So maybe we are seeing the Duke team that we thought we were going to see with all these fabulous freshmen and everything. But I'm going to need to see them string together 2 good games back to back, the opening weekend, before I'm going to start really buying into Duke's chances to advance.
Well, their first round game will be against number 12, Oral Roberts. Oral Roberts has some fantastic guard play. If they do make it through that round, you'll see them either face number 4, Tennessee, or number 13, Louisiana. I mean, to me, I'm going to go out and say it right now. I have Duke as a Sweet 16 team. I think they make the Sweet 16. I think that's where their season ends. So, Steve, how about you?
I do have them going to the 16, but primarily because I have Louisiana winning that opening round game. I really think that I think a lot of people slept on them all year, and the program is back. They've had some wonderful years in the past, but I think this is the kind of team that you don't want to play in the tournament, because a lot of people aren't paying attention to them. Okay, sure, you're doing some scouting, but it's going to be a rush deal, and I think that Louisiana has the depth on their roster, and I think they match up well against Duke. So it wouldn't even surprise me to see Louisiana go to the 16. But I'm not sure I'm that gutsy on that. I think Duke has a pretty easy path, even if it's Tennessee. I think Duke has an easy path to get to the 16. So I think it's more of a lucky draw as opposed to something that they would have earned per se.
Where will Duke fall, and how far will Duke go in the NCAA tournament? Will they go all the way? Duke fans, I know you're on SlasherU page. We see you all the time. Do you think that this is a team good enough to make it to the Final Four? Be reasonable. You're your first-year coach. Yes, you're on a hot streak, but be realistic when you're thinking. Do you think this is a team that can make it this far? Do you think that we're going too far with letting them go all the way to the Sweet 16? Let us know in the comment description below. Hit like and subscribe while you're there. March Madness is here, everyone. We are getting into tournaments, so check out more content here, as we are going to give you all these videos every single day until we have a crowned national champion on both sides of the men and women's. But until then, thank you for watching. SlasherU.